This week we're creating flat style spring florals intertwined with a Polaroid. We'll be using my new Polaroid Maker brushes for the Polaroid components, as well as my Inky Edge Pro brush for the floral elements and lettering. The color palette is free as always. Just tap on the link in the video description and you can download and install it. I'm going to start by creating a brand new canvas. I've listed my specs on screen, and let's begin. Okay, I've got my brand new canvas, and the first thing we're going to do is set our background color. So come to your layers, tap on background color, and choose the very first color on the top row. Next, we're going to stamp in our Polaroid. So I'm going to select the third color on the top row for my frame, navigate to the Polaroid set, and down here are the frames that you can choose from. So we'll be using the standard Polaroid for this one, so I'm going to tap on that, and then just tap anywhere on my screen. This stamp is set to 30% for the brush size, and we're also going to add in a shadow underneath it. So you just want to make sure that the brush size of your Polaroid and of the shadow that you use are the same. I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm going to switch to my darkest blue color, so it's the second one on the top row, come back to my brushes, and I'm going to select shadow number 3 down here. Over here, just make sure it's the same brush size as your Polaroid. So my Polaroid brush size was set at 30%, and I also have my shadow set at 30%. Once you have that, just tap on the screen once and your shadow will appear and it'll be perfectly sized, as long as those two brushes are the same size. So I'm going to select this and move it into place, which is right about there. I like having just a little bit of the center part poking through. And now we can drag this shadow layer underneath the frame layer. So just tap and drag, and now it's behind the Polaroid. Next, we're going to add a layer of color behind the Polaroid. So right between these two layers, the shadow layer and the frame layer, I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm going to switch my color to the yellow, which is the 4th on the top row. And I'm going to switch to my Inky Edge Pro brush for this and just draw that square right behind there. Make sure it's closed so when you fill it with color, it doesn't bleed out to your background. And now we've got our Polaroid with color in it, and the last thing we need to do is add a pin to the top. So first I'm going to select everything I have and I'm going to rotate it. I want it to be a little bit at an angle. I'm at about 94 degrees, just to make everything a little bit more dynamic. I'm also going to reduce the size of my Polaroid just a bit, and that looks pretty good. Now let's put our push pin up at the top. So I'm going to create a brand new layer up at the very top. I'm going to grab that dark blue color again, the second one on the top row, and there are a bunch of attachments that you can choose from in the Polaroid set. So there are 5 different push pins, there's a thumbtack, and then there's 6 different types of tape that you can use. So if you want to put tape on this instead of a pin, you could do that. I'm going to go with push pin 01 for this. I'm just going to stamp it once and then move it into a position and then rescale it so it feels proportional with the size of my Polaroid, and that feels pretty good. I'm sticking it right in the middle of that top frame. Now we can start painting in our florals. Let's group everything we've done so far together and we'll label this one Polaroid. Now we're going to draw our florals, so I'll create a brand new layer. I'm going to start with the darkest green, so it's the second one on the bottom row. Switch back to the Inky Edge Pro brush, and I'm going to put 3 flowers here, and I'm going to purposely make them extend beyond the bounds of the Polaroid. That way we can create that intertwining effect. So this main stem is just going to come straight up, and then I'll have another one that comes over and one right here. Then I'm going to add on some leaves to this. So I'll put a leaf right here, and once again I'm making sure that I'm extending beyond the frame. I'll add another one next to it right here. Not all of them have to extend beyond it, but I wanted to have a few that did, so we can really take advantage of that intertwining look. Okay, fill those with color. So drag your color into one of them, hit continue filling with recolor, reduce the flood level just a little bit below max, and then drag this into a leaf and then tap within the other leaves to fill it in. Next, we're going to add in some additional leaves. So I'm going to create a brand new layer, drag it underneath our first green layer, and I'm going to switch to the first green on the bottom row and just fill this out with some additional leaves. Once again, extend it beyond the frame's bounds whenever you get a chance. Okay, fill it the same way that we just did before. And I wanted to add just a little bit of detail to the dark green leaves, so I'm going to create a brand new layer right above them and grab the third green on the bottom row. And to add this detail, I'm just coming up, coming back down. It's kind of like a spiky shape, so when it's filled in, it gives the impression of a little bit of highlight or texture to the leaves. Okay, fill that in. Next, we're going to create our flat style florals. So for the very first one, create a brand new layer. I'm going to grab the darkest pink, so we're going to work in order from darkest to lightest on the second row. So grab that one, and I'm going to reduce my brush size just a little bit. I'm coming down to 7%. So the first petals will have, it's kind of a scalloped edge up here, and they're soft. They're not very deep, and I'll put a couple that are close together. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Just keep in mind that this one's going to be facing this direction. So this one's going to be the widest one. I can even add in a fourth one right here to make it even wider. And then this one's also pointing in this direction. And then we'll fill these ones in the same way that we filled the leaves in. Now we're going to go to our second layer. So create a brand new layer and go to the second color. So they're going to be shorter and wider. And when you can, fill in these gaps that the first one created. And then we'll do one more layer of these. So create a brand new layer, grab the third one in the second row. And these ones are going to be the shortest ones, and I'm only going to put probably 2 for most of these. Cover up that negative space, fill those in. Create a brand new layer, grab the last one on the second row, reduce your brush size a little bit. I'm going to come down to 5%, and I'm just going to put some lines in here to give it a little bit of texture and detail for the front petals. And then to connect all these flowers to the stems, we're going to create that transition area, which is called the sepal. I'm going to create a brand new layer, grab your dark green color, and these ones are going to be like mini leaves right here, and they're just going to create that nice transition between where the flower connects to the stem. And that takes care of our flowers. So we're going to group all of our flowers together, all of our flower elements. Label this one flowers. Okay, so now we're going to begin intertwining, and this part is definitely more advanced. If you haven't taken my free Procreate for Beginners course yet, I'll leave a link on screen and in the video description. There are several videos in that course dedicated just to layer masking. So if you've ever wondered about layer masking or you're not sure about it, you'll be an expert at it if you take that course and watch those videos. In order to make this work, we need to flatten our flower artwork. So I'm going to keep a copy of our group, that way we can still access the individual layers, but we still need a flattened version. That way we can create the layer mask. So I'm going to slide this to the left and choose duplicate, tap on that group's thumbnail and choose flatten, and then turn off the group's layer. Now we need to move this flower group within the Polaroid. So right between the color layer and the frame, that's where that needs to go. So I'm just going to drag that right between them. And now this is what it looks like. You can see that the frame is covering all of the flowers. So now we're going to create a mask, so it's going to begin intertwining them. In order to do that, we need to tap on our flower. So tap on the flower thumbnail and choose select. Down here, make sure color fill is not selected, otherwise this won't work at all. Then you're going to hit invert, come back to your layers, tap on the layer thumbnail for the frame, and choose mask. And now you can see the silhouette of the flowers is all black right here on the layer mask. We can deselect this now just by tapping our little select icon. And now make sure that the layer mask layer is the one that's highlighted the brighter blue. We're going to switch our color to white, so double tap where white is. I still have the Inky Edge Pro Brush selected, and now wherever I paint in white, I will start sending elements behind the frame. So if I want to send this part of the leaf behind the frame, I just paint right here. I can increase my brush size too. And now this one looks like it's behind the frame. So I can come through and decide which ones are going to be on top of the frame and which ones are going to be behind it. So I can choose to have all of this behind it, but that leaf in front. I like kind of going every other element. And then these ones are really close together. Since they're all touching, I'm just going to leave that alone and have them overlap. So that's all there is to that. And then we're just going to label this spring down here or whatever message you would like. So I'm going to create a brand new layer up on top. I'm going to keep this dark green color selected, choose the size that you would like. I'm going to come down to 6% and write whatever message you'd like right here. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time.